All right, hey guys, thank y'all so much for joining us today. Brandon Janice with The Start Guys. I'm super excited for today's guest, Vikki Fraker, right? I got that right? Vikki Fraker. And you might see some interesting things happen during this this interview. I don't even know what this thing is. You can scroll over and what is this?
That is Lula Mae the Llama.
Lula Mae the Llama, which is 3 times my size, and that may, Lula Mae may come into this video at some point. We have chickens over there, we have goats and maybe sheeps, and I don't know. There's just a little bit of everything, which is completely, I've never been on a farm. So this is different for me. This is my first farm, and I got this thing coming at me, and it's super cool and a little bit uncomfortable because I don't know what's gonna happen next for me. But it's super exciting to be here. And the reason I wanted to come here is I saw one of Vikki's videos, and I heard her vision, I heard her purpose, and I heard the things that she was doing, and I was like, that didn't just happen overnight by wishing or hoping or dreaming that it happened. She really saw something and went for it. And if I get startled, just bear with me, right? This is real. This is raw. So that being said, Vikki, first of all, thank you for having me out. Thank you for introducing me to the farm life. And just, you know, super stoked to hear your story and what you're about. And I've seen a little bit of it, Revival 356. Revival 356. I want to hear a little bit about that. But tell me a little bit about you, a little background, but more importantly, where did this come from? Because this is a big deal. Look at this, guys. This is no joke. So I'm going to go to you now so I can play with Lula. Where did this vision come from, and how did you when did this start? How did you see this? And tell us just a little bit about how it's come about.
Okay, it's a little bit of an in-depth story.
Sure, no problem.
So, I grew up in rural South Georgia, and I struggled with addiction at a very early age. Alcoholism, drugs, steroids, and bulimia for over 25 years. And so through all that very long process, when I was 35, I met a woman actually at a mental institution who was my counselor. And she taught me some things that I never learned growing up, and it was just some basics. And it truly was that that as long as I try to stay on the world's rhythm and do what the world tells me to do and just become a watered down version of who God created me to be, I will always suffer and I will always struggle. And she revealed to me that if it was safe and it was okay, and she kept meeting me there time and time again, to just connect with the deepest parts of my being of who God created me to be. And so she gave me a lot of tools to do that. So when I came back home, I did start struggling again, and through working with her, I learned I can't just let go of the darker sides or the things I struggle with. I have to find some positive things to put in its place.
Sure.
So as I let go of the addiction, I started peeling back the layers to really find out who Vikki was and who did God create me to be. And it just was completely different from the way I was showing up in the world. Abraham Maslow has a quote, and he says something to the effect, the way for people to change is to create an awareness of who they are. And so that's actually what took place. Is who I thought I was a very false version of Vikki. And so through that process, I realized that what God put in me to love is to be out in nature, to be around animals, and to create. And the whole point of creating is not for somebody else to like it. It's because it's in me and it has to come out.
Right.
So as I got back and started struggling again, I realized that the only way that I was going to stay sober and stay alive was to really submerge myself in who God created me to be. And so I had to get away from the fast-paced rhythm of the city and all the things for me that meant, which was accomplishing, accumulating, acquiring, and get on a different rhythm, which is God's rhythm, which is this.
It is a different rhythm. There's no doubt this is a different rhythm. So, okay, so you just didn't know you were going to have this.
No.
Yeah, so when did that become a reality to you? Okay, this is what I envision, and because this is more than just farm animals in a farm. Like you have a lot happening, and you're reaching a ton of people through your project and what you have going on. So where did that come about? Was it your struggles knowing that other people are going through the same things, and you now have a voice to help them, or how did this all happen?
I think the recovery movement, AA, had a huge impact on my life. It's life changing. And in AA, the only way to stay sober is to carry the message. And if you're a Christ follower, we are to share the gospel, the good news, which is love. Yeah. So it occurred to me that not only am I supposed to find what feeds my spirit and fills me up, but I'm then supposed to share that with the world. Right. And the greatest way I can share that with the world is staying true to what's inside of me. So by me being who God created me to be, it gives other people a safe place to do the same. So I think when they come out here, they feel this sense of...
I feel a sense of something. No, you're good. They feel a sense of what?
That they feel a sense of non-judgmental and love and acceptance. And I think that's what we all want. Sure. We all want to know we belong, and we all want to just have the comfort of just being who we were created to be.
Wow, that's so good. So let me ask you, kind of off subject, but are you targeting, I don't know if targeting is probably a bad word, but people that come out here, is it mainly women, or do you deal with men too? Or
you know what, we're always open to men. My passion, obviously, is teenage girls and women. That has been my journey, and I have obviously experience with that.
Sure.
And I think in our culture, obviously, men are adored for their power and money, and for women, it's their body and their image.
Sure.
And so, the beginning part of my journey, I was an athlete, and so I know what that's like to think that that we are the sum total of our body. Yeah. And so, believe it or not, I think a lot of people, no matter what the age, women still struggle with their identity, thinking that their worth is who they are and what they do and what their body looks like. Yeah, yeah. And so I have a little bit more experience in that area, realizing that that has absolutely nothing to do with my work.
Right, right. No, that's great. So let me ask you this then. Because it obviously has continued to grow and is going to continue to grow and everything that you're doing, but there was obviously obstacles, there were hurdles, there were struggles, there were days where I'm sure you were thinking, gosh, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And I want you to think about those days and the hard times and the struggles, because that's where people quit, that's where people give up, that's where people lose hope. And whether it is addiction, whether it is rekindling a relationship, whether it is starting that business, whatever it is. So what are some of those things you went through that you could share, that you're comfortable sharing, or even that you're uncomfortable sharing, that maybe people will encourage people that it's okay and that's not the end of the road?
You know, it's interesting because my husband is also in recovery, and he got sober after one try. It took me many years. So there's a saying that says, to the degree we suffer is to the degree we have compassion. So for me, I have such compassion for people who don't get it on the first time, which actually carried over in the discipline of not giving up and quitting when obstacles come along. So I learned that they also say in AA, if you're tired of hitting rock bottom, stop digging, which just means that there's always going to be a new low. Sure. And if you can get through those difficult times or those hard times, who you become on the other side is just a beautiful, raw version of who you were before. And I think that's always given me such hope. Struggling with bulimia for 25 plus years, that's a hard thing to let go of. And so I had many setbacks and many failures, and truly had no desire to live. Absolutely no desire to live. I just didn't know how to die. And I think when you go through something like that, it changes the fabric of your being, hopefully not only for yourself, but you can then share that message with others. So it's almost like God doesn't waste a single tear. Yeah. every tear you cried not only will save you when you're on the other side, but you then meet other people through that.
Yeah.
So I don't.
No, that's great because, you know, I think sharing the valleys is easy to talk about, and I'm sorry, the peaks is easy to talk about. No, this is great, and it's you know, but the valleys are where the good stuff happens. You know,
It is.
that's where we learn, that's where we grow, that's where we can relate. You know, because if you didn't go through the things you went through, I don't think you'd have the platform you do.
No. Well, you know what's interesting is I think that it's not. For me, it wasn't just the valley, because there were so many valleys for me, but it was how I then approached the valley once I came to it again.
That's exactly right.
And
It's
it was,
how you act in your valleys is going to be what keeps you
correct.
out of them next time, or on the peaks higher.
That's
Yeah.
right. So
yeah.
instead of resisting, fighting, getting pissed off, there was an acceptance and a surrender that every time I knew that if this came to me, God would bring me through it.
Yeah.
And so I had to trust that in the darkest parts, where there was no light, that there was light. And I remember somebody said to me, you know, it doesn't say, yea, though I stay in the valley. It says that I go through the valley.
Sure.
So there is a coming out of it. And I believe that the more we accept it, learn the lesson, have an open mind and an open heart, the more smoothly we'll go through the valley.
Oh, it's so
but there's
good.
gonna be valleys.
There sure
man.
is. It never stops.
You can fight it or you can accept it, and you know, especially, you know, for those of us that are deeply spiritual and follow that path, we got to know that there is a bigger picture going on. You know.
Yeah. Well, I told you earlier, like if I wake up 2 days in a row and I'm not happy, then I don't do that anymore, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I don't have bad days. It doesn't mean there aren't bad
Absolutely.
moments, because you know, I heard a quote the other day: if every day was a good day, there'd be no good days.
That's right.
Because you wouldn't
That's
know any
right.
different, right? So
That's
the challenges and the struggles, man, that's the good stuff. That's where we grow, and that's where we become relatable. And unfortunately, in the social media world, we don't share a lot of that. You know, we share all the goods and the goods and the goods and the goods, and you don't realize the things that are going on, like you're making out with a goat, right, or whatever, or the llama. You don't realize those things. So, okay, couple more questions.
It is the small things.
Yeah.
It is the small things. So sometimes the social media and the world will tell you to look for the next big thing outside of yourself, and the happy days, the content days, the joyful days, when we go within, it's the simple, ordinary moments of life. That is the grandness
I agree.
of it.
You got to choose to enjoy them.
That's it.
So true. Okay, so if you were to give, you've been through a lot. You have a lot of ups and downs, obviously, and it looks like you have something so special here, and I'm excited about that. And so, couple things. One, what would be the biggest piece of advice you could give someone? And I don't even know where you want to go as far as being, you know, bulimic, alcohol, or entrepreneur. You know, what would be the biggest advice? And it may all be one, you know, that you could give someone that will see this to keep going, or whatever it may be.
It would simply be, if you're not in the I just went blank. If you're not in possession of something, you cannot give it away. If I am not in possession of kindness, compassion, and love, what I give is a watered down version. So the whole point of me finding what rhythm that God has put me on, and to play the music that He put in my heart, is not for me to wallow in myself. It's to give that away.
Yeah.
That's what we say, is to give that away.
It's so good.
And so it's the whole point of falling in love with who God created you to be in your life and your gifts, and not try to become a watered down version of what other people say you need to be, is so that you can share the truth of who you are with the world. Because the world needs your gifts. How do I know this?
Good.
Because God created you.
Yeah.
You know, so if we're not in possession of something, we can't give it away.
It's so good. Because I live by two rules. One, the law of happy. If I'm not happy 2 days in a row, I don't do it anymore. And the other one's the law of use. Whatever I don't use, I lose. If I don't use my kindness, I lose it. If I don't use my ambition, it declines. If I don't use my faith, it decreases,
It's
right?
the truth.
And so my goal every day is to wake up and use every gift God's given me in one way or another.
We really are supposed to be a vessel. It's supposed to flow through us. Stagnant water rots. You know, anything we hoard or hang on to, and it really does rot. So we are to give everything we have away.
Love it. That's so good. Okay, so where can people find you? Because I don't know where we're at, but where can people find you? I don't know if you have a social following or a website, or I saw the shirts. What's the slogan? Because I love it.
I am loved, I am worthy, and I am enough.
Love it. So where can people find you and your stuff and just what you're doing?
We have a website, revival356.com,
Okay.
and that stands for revival is an awakening, a consciousness coming to life, and 356 stands for Proverbs 3, 5, and 6.
Got it.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path.
Amazing.
And so the funny thing is I know zero about tech, can barely email. So we do have people that are kind enough to help us with that, but we do have a website.
Cool.
And Revival 3.
So they can find you there. And if you're in Georgia,
yes, ball ground, specifically the North Georgia Mountains.
the North Georgia Mountains, okay. Just find a farm and you'll get there. But go to her website, because I'm assuming all that's
everything. So we have InstaClick, Play,
cool.
Gram.
Yeah, all that stuff you don't know about, but it's happening.
Yeah. Face it out, and
Yeah.
click it up, and hit it up. And
Well, another thing too, what I love too is you share videos on your own social site. So how can people find you on Facebook or whatever and add you and follow you?
Through Revival 356. So I'm Vikki Scaffe Fraker.
Okay.
But I am gonna try to be a little more consistent and do some weekly videos,
Awesome.
just raw like this, from the farm, not knowing what you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's what I love. Okay, last question. So where is Vikki and the farm and Revival 356? Where's that going to be 5 years from now? What is your big now? Where are we going?
Yeah. Well, again, if it's God's will, that is always it. I want to know how to be content and just as it is. So if nothing changes and we love one person at a time, that is what we're called to do. However, I am all about, we serve a big God and we have a big vision. We have renderings in the barn, and we actually have a chapel slated, another cabin, several cabins, a pond, walking trails, a yoga platform, meditation areas, and some of that we've already started.
So a lot.
We have a lot.
Yeah.
God says ask. So we're asking,
good.
but we're also being content and okay with where He has us now.
Well, because 2 years ago it was nothing.
It was nothing, but I think again, if we're talking about getting on the world's rhythm of more, bigger, better, I have to be careful and keep myself in check of, sure, we have a vision if it's God's will, but also if this is it, can I be just incredibly grateful and content in this? And
you look like it. I mean, you look pretty content. So
yes, I can.
Well, I can't thank you enough. This has been so much fun. I want to continue to follow you and continue to see what happens here, because this is just such a neat thing that she has here. But 2 years ago it was nothing. It was an idea, it was a thought, it was a vision, and to see what she's done, and y'all haven't seen, it's more than animals. Y'all haven't seen what she has here. It's really super cool. So maybe we'll take some photos and I'll post those. But I'm so thankful to you, because you made me think, man, I can do more, I can give more, I can be more. And that's the purpose of this project, to meet people like you that don't make excuses and follow God's path and have built something super special. So thank you so much. You can find her at revival356.com and follow her on social, because if nothing else, it's a hoot. It is so funny, because you never know what you're going to get. So thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in today. Have a blessed day, everybody.